everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. I have with us today, he's a producer, actor, and as well as a podcaster, and he is actually starring in the new indie horror flick, which is called Bikers versus Werewolves. I have with us today Alexander Hawk. Alexander, welcome to the Horror Room.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad to be on it. I've been checking out it, and I enjoy all the interviews. I love it.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. I definitely appreciate all the support. Now, I have seen the advertisements for Bikers versus Werewolf, and you just got done shooting in Vegas for your role in that. Tell us a little bit about Bikers versus Werewolf and also your role in it.
Okay. As you can guess, the story is about bikers versus werewolves. It's a very self-explanatory film. And pretty much everything you need to know about the plot is in the title, and it cuts down on a lot of time of trying to figure out what is the underlying message of the story. I get to play Deputy Wilson in that. I get to work with Jake Busey.
Oh, nice.
Who plays the sheriff. We also got Michael Perrier. And also Robert Lasardo, and a few other, notable actors, Glenn Plummer also. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Actually, I just got back last Friday.
Nice.
From, after finishing shooting there.
Nice. So, how long were you on the set?
Let's see. On set, I was there 3 days. I got down a day early, because of the jet lag. I mean, coming from Boston to Las Vegas. I mean, 3 hours doesn't sound like much, but, it does take a toll out of you.
I definitely used to, for work, I used to have to go onto the west. I live in Baltimore in Maryland. So traveling from the east to the west coast and then coming back, it definitely fucks you up for a couple of days.
Yeah. Sometimes even longer than that.
Yes, I know. So I mean, you're an actor and a producer. So yeah. Tell us, how did you get into, the indie horror realm?
Actually, it's well, first, I mean, I always knew I wanted to be an actor, and I just love acting. It's my passion. And actually, it's funny. Because if you told me that when I was younger that I was going to get into like independent horror, I would probably laugh, because when growing up, horror wasn't my favorite genre. I was more of a sci-fi geek and fantasy geek. But when I got older and I started doing independent films, horror is, of course, the most mainstay and most popular genre. And I started getting into that and really started, embracing it. I enjoy it a lot.
And you've also starred in a movie that I had a privilege of seeing the screening. Is out right now. So it's a fun ride. It's called Macabre Mountain. That's with Xander Goldman. And you did an amazing job in that, because before the interview, I was like, wait a minute, I know you from somewhere. And I was like, okay, Macabre Mountain. Yeah. Now, how was it working with Xander Goldman and the amazing cast of Macabre Mountain?
Well, it was a lot of fun. Xander's a great guy. I mean, he reached out to me, and we started talking. And at first, we were talking about, I think a hotel manager. But he was like, no, I really want you to play this character. And first of all, the great thing is this is probably one of the few times I don't die. And one of the fewer times I actually kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a nice. And plus also, I mean, not only I'm in the scene with Elsie Holt, I'm with Felissa Rose and Robert Mukes. All three of them are very great actors and were a lot of fun to work with. And they even told me that they liked what I did. And, getting that positive reinforcement from people that you are big fans of is a very good, feather in the cap, so to speak.
Now, do you ever get like starstruck when when you're working with iconic actors and actresses in the horror genre?
Yes, and it's something that I've been working with. I mean, there are those that it's harder than others because I mean everyone has your ultimate favorite, and then of course those that you enjoy but aren't as high up. But I've been working really hard. That's one of the things working with bigger actors. I've been just reminding myself that they're just like everybody else. We're there to do a job and try to give the best performance. And hopefully, they appreciate what I do. And last thing I want them to think is that I'm not taking this seriously because I do.
I agree.
Yeah.
So you're also a producer. So by being able to, by being an actor, do you feel like that helps you as being a producer as well, and vice versa?
Yeah, because I mean the thing is, being a producer is all about trying to help make a good product. And the fact is that you need to know every part of what makes the film. I mean, everything from the acting, from the camera work, from lighting to costumes to props. You gotta delve yourself into every aspect. Acting, of course, is one of the big parts of it, but there's all parts are put together and they create a whole. And the thing is, now one part is more important than the other. And that's the biggest important thing that any producer should know is that you can have the greatest stars in the project, but if you don't take the time to make sure that you got the right set locations, right props, right things for every scene, then no matter how good the acting is, it won't work and it'll come out not looking that good.
And I mean, I've ever since I've been doing the show and interviewing filmmakers, producers, and even actors and actresses, I never realized how important the producer role is. I mean, the producer is the in-between guy between the director and the actress and the rest of the crew that makes sure that all of the pieces of the machine are rolling.
Yeah, and that's I mean the fact is that when you got, I mean, myself being a creative and a lot of other creative people like the directors and all that, you need someone who helps make the creative process easier and also make it possible for it to shine.
Now, have you ever thought about filmmaking yourself, being a director?
Um, it's funny because my partner Matthew Fisher and I we have Boombastic Films, Boombastic Media, where we do podcasts, we make our own films, and Matt has always said that I should consider one day directing. And while I'm not against the idea, I also know how much work it is. Plus, also, a fact is that in the end, I mean, while a producer helps put everything together, it's like the old saying that the captain goes down with the ship.
Yes.
And the director's the captain. I mean, the producer might be technically higher up, but the director is the one that has to make sure everything his vision comes through. So I probably will one of these days. I mean, I've done some shorts as a director. I've directed some like episodes of a podcast, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm open to it, but not yet.
Not yet. Now, have you gotten to the stage in your career now where, like, you were talking about Macabre Mountain, and you said that Xander Goldman reached out to you. Have you gotten to that stage in your career now where people contact you for roles, or are you still in that phase where you still have to do the casting call?
Well, it's one of those things that it's kind of half and half. I mean, the fact is, everyone hits me up first to be a producer. Everyone needs a producer, and depending on the project, I mean, I will see, and if I can help out, I'm definitely down for it. But I mean, like I said, my passion's acting. If someone wants me on as a producer, and I'm like, I'll do the producer work if you're willing to give me a role that it'll be fun and will help promote myself that way. I'm
Mhm.
totally down. Um, I mean, I haven't been just reached out just as an actor yet. I'm still
Okay.
kind of in that thing where most people think of me as a producer before as an actor.
Now, have you gotten past the part now where, like, okay, you're in a movie, you're acting as an actor in a movie, and then you get to see the final product, and you see yourself? Are you still like? Have you gotten past that phase where you're like, oh shit, I'm in a movie?
Um, that's a good question. Honestly, I think I've gone past the point of like, oh my god, that first initial like, oh my god, I'm in the movie aspect. But it's funny, as you probably have heard, a lot of actors like to say that they don't like watching themselves because they're
Hmm.
critical. Myself, I like watching myself for the simple fact that I want to critique and see, because you do a performance as an actor, and then in the end, it's edited in whatever way the director and the editor seems fit. So there's a lot of stuff that you do that doesn't make it and all that, and you want to see, what they decide, because in as an example, when people talk about like you're putting together demo reel, okay,
Hmm.
you want to make sure you pick out scenes where you win in a scene. And what that usually means is when you're in a scene with somebody, and even when you're not talking, the editor decides to focus more on you and then go back and forth. And there's more clips of you in the scene, even if you're talking or not.
Hmm.
And it's always interesting because when you look at that, you also get an idea of how other people view what you're doing. So it gives a whole different layer of a lot of work trying to figure out what I have to improve on, and hopefully impress the whoever's editing to keep me in the film instead of cutting me out.
Yeah. Now, you've been doing this for quite a bit, long time.
Yeah.
Do you still have the pressure, like, whoa, I got to one up myself on each project or improve in some kind of way?
I like to think that I have. I mean, I will be perfectly honest. I don't think I've had any role that has really like stretched me. I don't think I've had any of those roles that really have been out of my wheelhouse. But the big thing is, for example, like in Bikers versus Werewolves, there was a line in it that when the way it's positioned in it, my first idea was to play it comically, but then
Hmm.
the scene itself is pretty dramatic. So I had to rethink of how I was going to say that line, because it's one of those things that you have the main character is his friend just died, and the sheriff pretty much tells him that he wants him to get out of town, and the main guy makes a comment about, is there a place to eat in town? And then I just say, oh, there's a barbecue place right on Main Street. Now, I mean, my first reaction to that's kind of, for the scene, kind of,
Yeah.
out there, kind of like, out of left field. But then I looked at it, it was like, okay, this guy, his friend just died. The sheriff doesn't really want him there, and the sheriff isn't going to respond to him.
Yeah.
I looked at it like, well, right now, I'm feeling compassion for this guy who just lost his friend, but also this try to get him just out of this saloon, okay?
Hmm.
Even if it's just down the street. So I'm like, well, there is a barbecue place on Main Street, instead of going for the comical way. So it's all about the situation, who you're playing across of, and that kind of stuff. So I mean that's how I try to tackle everything is you read the scene, you read the lines, and you have your initial reaction. And then when you're on set, depending on who you're talking to, I mean, one actor could deliver a line totally different than the other. And that itself changes how you say your line.
Hmm.
So so it's all about it's a give and take. It's pretty much you listen and you respond, and you try to respond in what elevates the scene.
So, Alexander, I cannot say what movie, but I will be having my acting debut in a indie horror flick in a couple months, and I will have a couple of lines. It's the first time I've ever done an acting role. So, what is some advice that you could give me?
Okay. That's a good question. Um, my advice is be real. Honestly. I mean, I've known people, actors, that they say that, well, if I'm a better liar, I'm a better actor because they look at acting as, you're putting on a persona, you're not telling the truth.
Hmm.
I myself, on the other end, looks at what we do as nothing but telling the truth, even if you're lying in the scene. Okay?
Hmm.
The truth to you is the lie. And depending on the lines you have and the situation, just just remember, first of all, it's a conversation. I mean, you and I are having a conversation right now.
Hmm.
And the thing is that you just you just go with it. And depending on the director and all of that, hopefully if the line just doesn't come out of your mouth exactly the way, you feel that it should, tweak it. I mean, I personally believe that, and better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
Now, I go ahead and do a line, and sometimes I have a director like Alex, buddy, that's not the line. This is the
Hmm.
line. I need you to say it like this, and then I'm like, okay, cool, and I do that. But if I can like pump up the line or say it that makes it sound right coming out of my mouth, because
Hmm.
sometimes you have a line and you're saying it and it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't work when you're doing it. So my opinion is, try different ways and realize with while you practice it that when you're on set, your delivery could change 100% because of how the person you're talking to is delivering their lines. So you have to have a little bit of give and take, a little improv, and go like that.
It's great advice. Great advice. I'm definitely going to take that advice. Now, you've been killed in several films. What is the gnarliest way you've been killed so far?
Okay, so how long is your podcast?
As long as it takes.
Okay, because I can't really pick out the gnarliest. I mean, I can tell you some of them. I mean, I've had my intestines ripped out more times than I can count. Um, Probably one of the coolest ones, I would say. I My production company with my pal Matthew Fisher, we did a film called Groundhog, which is
Hmm.
a slasher based around Groundhog Day, of course. And in that one, they took a snow shovel and they cut me in half.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I literally have my ass and legs right next to me with my intestines pouring out. I would say that's probably my most memorable death that I can think of. I mean, there's a film with the Mahals that's going to be coming out shortly called Devil's Night, where monster rips into me and pulls out my intestines as I'm kicking and screaming. Pretty much most of my gnarly deaths have to deal with my intestines. I don't know why it just happens to me. Um, but yeah, I would say those are probably the most gnarliest deaths.
Now, so okay, so with the intestines kills, does it take a lot of preset in order to get that perfect execution? Does it take a lot of time to set it up so that it can have that effect?
Well, I mean, the thing is, honestly, I think mostly with those things, it's I think it's less of the setup and more of the preliminary work.
Hmm.
Building the intestines, getting the blood and guts, getting all of that. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, on the day, I mean, for example, like when we were doing um, me being cut in half with a snow shovel, we already had the bottom part of me built. So we had that on the side. We already had the intestines and all of that. And I mean, it took a bit of setting it up, but for the most part, it didn't take that long because we had everything prepped out before.
Hmm.
And my advice is, especially if you're doing any special effects scenes, especially if you have a time constraint, preliminary work is the most important aspect to that. Because if you're trying to build or put things together on the day, then we're talking about something that's going to take about an hour to 2 hours, was going to take about 4 to 5.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, whenever you're doing, special effects, especially practical effects, horror, makeups, and all of that, always expect it to be longer than you think it's going to be, because no matter how many times you think it through, and you could be doing blood splatter and you practice all day before, and then the day it gets clogged, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to think on the fly. So I mean, I remember when we were doing that shovel thing, we had one way we were going to do it, and then we had to, I forget why, we had to switch it up because of, I think, how the set was set up. But yeah, it's again going with the acting. When you're doing anything, you have to be, especially when you're doing independent film, you got to be quick on your feet, because if you don't have $1 million budget, things are going to happen at the last and the worst possible minute. And
Hmm.
you gotta figure out how to do it. And a lot of times you only have a place for a limited amount of time. So you gotta keep hustling and make sure you get the shots you need and get out before they throw you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine, because I hear from a lot of indie horror filmmakers that actually all of them, nothing ever goes according to plan when it comes to filming a indie horror film.
It,
Something happens, whether it be location wise or the cast uh, not showing up, getting sick. Something always happens unexpectedly, and you have to be able to maneuver from that.
yeah. I mean, the thing is that, um, it's yeah. I mean, even the big budget films. I mean, you hear stories where they have to do reshoots. They have to, and of course, we're talking about millions and billions of dollars that they're throwing.
Yeah,
And when you only got 50 cents, okay, you
you
got
can't.
a lot more hustle and a lot more fig. And honestly, that's why I'm not to dump on Hollywood, but to dump on Hollywood. Uh,
Hmm.
the fact is, I mean, when it gets down to it, for the most part, they're pretty lazy, because all they have to do is throw money at it, and they're like, well, we got to do reshoots. Well, that's okay. We'll just have to pay Gal Gadot and and all of them, a few more millions of dollars. But well, hey, we'll get it back in.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
And the fact is, and I'm going to say, I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm in doing the film because of my love for it. Now, if you're going into especially independent film for the money. Don't quit your day job. I
Exactly.
mean, I got a regular day job, 40 hours a week that I have to grind just to make enough money to put into these projects. So yeah, I mean, my advice is if you love it, good for you. Keep going at it, and all that. But if you're like, well, I'm going to suddenly become huge like Brad Pitt, I'm like,
Hmm.
it might happen, but it might not. So don't don't put all your hopes on being the next Brad Pitt. That's all.
Exactly. If it happens, it happens, but don't definitely expect it.
Yeah.
So you also have a podcast. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Okay. We have the Bombastic Media Network. We got a bunch of different podcasts on that. We have the Bombastic Cast, where we interview celebrities and we talk about pop culture. I mean, we actually just dropped an episode with Susan Lanier that was from
Oh,
Hills Have Eyes.
nice. I've actually interviewed her. Amazing. She's amazing.
Oh, yeah. She's great. She's
Hmm.
awesome. We had a lot of fun talking to her about her career. We also talked to James Lorenz from Frankenhooker. Um, we also talked to Tom McLaughlin, Jack Shoulder. I mean, and we've talked to other people that aren't horror. I mean, our whole thing is talking to interesting people, and our way of doing it is very conversationalist. So we let the guests go where they want to go, and then we have a conversation, and that's what we like to do on that. We also have the Dead Kids of Derry, which is kind of like a Mystery Science Theater 3000, but we go through all of Stephen King films.
Love it.
And we make jokes. We talk about behind the scenes stuff. We delve into the books and the jumping from books to movies, how they differ. I mean, the next one that we're going to be doing is the Langoliers. That's going to be next month.
Ooh, okay, that's a good one. That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, and we got another one. We got is the Behold the Pale podcast, which is our conspiracy theory show and all that, where we talk about conspiracy theories, the possibility of whether they're true or not. Up to whoever listens. I mean, we just like having discussions.
Now, do you stream them on Spotify?
Yeah, they're all on Spotify. Myself and Matthew Fisher, we host all these, and we there's also a few others like the Lighter Side of Serial Killers, which is actually done by Keith Revere, who's an author, who actually goes into prisons and deal with these violent offenders and try to
Really?
rehabilitate them. And actually, it's the only podcast where they actually call in. So he has a conversation with them
Well,
right there on the podcast.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
All
So
right, see, I'm gonna check it out now. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm
yeah,
definitely check it out.
I mean, the thing is, we keep on growing. We got more stuff that were in the works, and we're trying to build upon, and try and make, a bigger platform for people to, delve into and find different avenues.
That's amazing. All right, so real quick, Alexander, where can everyone find you, my friend?
Well, I mean, you can find me on Facebook, Alexander Hawk, Hauck. That's the best way to contact me if you want to contact me. Um, I mean, I'm on Instagram under Hawkman220. Those are my main ones. I'm also on TikTok, also Hawkman220. Um, and also, we're actually going to be at the Dead of Winter Horror Festival, February 25th, at the Mechanic Hall, 321 Main Street, Worcester, Massachusetts. It's a new festival where we're going to have our short special treatment, which I help produce and also I star in with and my partner Matthew Fisher helped produce that as well. We're going to be there, and we're going to be selling our merch. We're going to be selling DVDs and signing autographs, and just connecting with people that love indie horror. If you like indie horror, come on down and say hello.
That's awesome. Listen, everyone. By the way, look out for Bikers versus Werewolves. Also, check out Macabre Mountain. It's an amazing film. And follow Alexander, see all of his future projects, and also get out to Massachusetts also at the end of this month and check him out at the what's the name of the convention again?
Dead of Winter Horror Festival.
Dead of Winter Horror Festival. And also check out his podcast that I'll be checking out as well over on Spotify. Alexander, it's been an absolute blast having you on, man. We're probably going to cross paths soon. I just feel like it. I feel like we're going to cross paths soon.
Hey. I mean, heck, I'm always around. I've been traveling, and I mean, you never know. I mean,
yes.
I keep on trying to spread my wings.
Yes. I'm about to say, if you ever want me to guest on your podcast, I would be more than welcome to come on.
Oh, definitely.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.